One of the most painful truths that I've had to reconcile in my own life is that I am not as good as evaluating myself as I think and feel that I am. And I'm gonna take a guess that you're probably the same way. We overestimate our ability to objectively evaluate our own lives, and the end of the year evaluation is no different. My name is David McCormick, doctor in psychology and executive coach, and we utilize the whole life audit as an effective and comprehensive framework to evaluate 7 core areas of life to bring about clarity in those hidden dynamics that could be tripping you up so that we can grow. So, thinking about the intentional ways that we can evaluate, and I love this topic. I love talking about how we can evaluate things effectively instead of just feeling our way through it. There are specific guidelines and frameworks that we can utilize so we are doing a good job at evaluating what matters most. And the end of the year is a great time to think of what has happened throughout the year. But I would encourage you to sit down and take the time to do this, but not just haphazardly, not just bring out a pen and like, well, this year was great because blah, 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 blah. We can be intentional and do things in a more structured way that might bring about some different results. So number one is what I call the year in review. Take a minute to write out the 12 different months that we have and write out any specific events that happened that were really important. And one thing that I've done to kind of reverse engineer this now is that I go through in real time as I'm walking through the year, and I will have a section of my journal where I write down, this happened on this date, this was an important thing that happened, this is even a way I felt, this is July 12th, and today I felt desperate for this to happen, or whatever it is. And so if you're intentional about this, you can start next year of writing down those meaningful events. They're going to shape the way that your year played out. But the year in review is the important way to get what really happened this year, because what can happen is in the moment that you're evaluating, the way you feel about the year will influence your evaluation more than anything else. And if you have an off day, then you're gonna think, this was the worst year of my life. Or if you're having a really great day, you think, oh my gosh, this was the best year ever. And you don't learn from the things that you could learn from because it's tainted by the emotion of this moment. So what are the major events that happened? What are people that you met? What is something that happened in people's lives that was really important? When did this happen? What was going on? What were my most common emotions throughout the year? What are the things I felt most? What were the things I complained about the most? What were the things I prayed about the most? These are going to give light to the general patterns, and what we want to identify as we evaluate our year are patterns in behavior, attitudes, and emotions. So after our year in review, where we're writing all this stuff down, we want to look at our highs and our lows going throughout this year. So what were our highs? What were those moments that we would say, that was an incredible moment? When we got this news, I felt like I could conquer the world. I felt so empowered. And you're going to write down what those specific highs were, but you're also going to contrast that with your lows. And maybe this year you have a lot more lows than highs, but name them, go through them, because you can learn from that data if you classify it in a helpful way. Your lows will often show us, where did I grow the most? Where were the most opportunities that I could grow through life and learn from what was going on? What relationships were strengthened? What relationships were weakened? Who am I closer to now and who am I farther apart from? Those are going to go on your highs and lows for the year because it reflects what really happened in relational ways. And I would encourage you to refer to this wheel that we use with the 7 different areas of life to go through. Financially, what were my highs and my lows? Relationally, spiritually, vocationally, environmentally, what were the different ways that the different areas of my life played together and interacted to bring about those high moments, but also those low moments? So once we have that clearly before us of our year in review and then our highs and our lows, now we want to work through the struggles and the lessons that we learned. And so this takes a little bit of work when you go through your highs and your lows specifically based on that year in review, and you look at what were the things that you struggled through, what were the pain points, what was it that you learned, what were the high emotions, and what could you say that you have learned from because of the way you felt or what you experienced in that moment. And this is where the real learning happens, where we're able to place and give language to the experiences that we've had, the emotions that we had, the different things that we experienced in the year, and now we can place on top of that, wait a minute, that person that I got distance from, that actually corresponds to what I was thinking about last year when I needed to have more boundaries with this person because they were really bringing me down. So we can measure our growth and understand how we're growing when we are able to assign meaning through retrospective evaluation and learn from what we've done by looking at our highs and lows and placing value on that. So what did I avoid this year that needs attention? What did I learn about myself? In what ways did I grow? And what ways do I have to grow in the future? Take a minute to write all that down and go as deep as you want to. And I would encourage you to go into specific moments specific pain points throughout your year and understand what you learned and how you grew. And from there, I want you to take this card that we've developed, and it's going to be in a PDF. If you want this PDF, you can write us at info@mccormickconnect.com, and we will send you a free PDF where you can utilize this format to evaluate your life in these 7 core areas. So you're going to use this PDF and you're going to go through 1 to 10. How would you rate right now relationally? And then we're going to give you a couple different options with your spouse, with your kids, with your most important friendships, with your parents. What are you going to rate those relationships as? And the beauty of this comes when you are able to do this over different seasons and see how your relationships are growing and ebbing and flowing. So your parenting, your family connection, your finances, your friendships and community, your mental and emotional well-being, personal growth, fun and joy in your recreation, your environment in general, all these different ways where we can see growth. So it's easier to evaluate those specific areas of life and see how those areas play with each other instead of trying to evaluate our whole life at once. So once we have that information and we've given ourselves a score in that PDF that we're going to send you, then we want to look towards the future. So we're applying what we've learned from the past and formatting in such a way that is going to be helpful for us in the future. And this one is about looking forward. So we started with the year in review, we did the highs and the lows, we did our struggles and our learning, we did our life domain scorecard, and now we're going to look to the future. We're going to look to see how what we've learned can play into and converge into a more successful future for ourselves. And this is where I always prayerfully go through, what is my word going to be for this year? And this isn't some mystical, magical thing that descends from heaven, but based on what I've experienced this year and based on the season that I'm going through right now, what is a word or a theme that could guide me into this year? And again, I don't want to be super mystical in this, but it is helpful to have this theme that brings us into the future, that brings some kind of momentum with us as we move towards the future. And obviously this theme should be something that aligns with your values, so you're never going to be completely off base with it. And then from there, we're going to look at what would our goals be based on the way that we've evaluated our life and what matters most to us. What would 3 to 5 goals be in those specific areas? And thinking, wow, this was a really, really tough year financially. So one of the biggest things that I want to get that would be of value for me is stability. And so I'm going to look to save an extra 10% of my income this year, so we're not in the same situation a year from now. And remember, like we've said in other spaces, that your goals are going to come naturally from your values in those 7 areas. Your goals aren't just these add-ons to your life. And think about specifically in this spot, once you have a couple of goals, what is it that you need to stop? What is it that you need to start? And what is it that you need to continue in your life? It could be that you've kind of developed this habit or this addiction that you need to let go of, and that's something you need to stop. It could be that you need to start doing a different practice. You need to start doing a daily practice of gratitude or of prayer, or you could be continuing in that. You started on this reading plan and it's going really well. You started with this book club, you started with this savings plan, you started saying I love you to your kids every night, and that's been really, really good, and I need to continue that. So I didn't identify those specific areas, things that you need to start, things that you need to stop, and things that you need to continue. And then as you finish up this exercise, think about how you can ask for outside support. We often think, okay, this is my life, I need to do it all myself. But take a look at your 3 to 5 goals and look at your start, stop, and continues and think, who can I bring into this? Who is someone that is trustworthy, provide good counsel, that would provide an honest opinion that I could bring into this? And maybe you even do it with your spouse or with that friend, that you bring them into this exercise at the end and say, hey, I need to stop this activity specifically in my life, and I want you to hold me accountable. When you are able to bring community into this, it enriches it so much. It brings it to life, and it will deepen your relationship with that person as well. So as you take time at the end of the season to look at the year and all things that have happened, use this guide that we've set up for you. Use a predictable framework that will guide you through the process instead of just taking time to randomly write down things that were important. Because potential for growth comes through intentionality. And so when you intentionally evaluate and get data in the right way, you're going to be able to make different decisions in the future. And involve somebody else. You live in community, and that's the way that you were meant to thrive. If this video has been helpful for you, I'd encourage you to share it with whomever you'd like as we end this season and as we're all evaluating how things have been. Let us all do it in a way that is fruitful and that will bring about the best possible changes for our lives, because the potential for change will come from our willingness to be intentional in the changes that we make.